All right, what's up? Hope everybody's doing well. I am just made it down to Lima. Let me know if anybody has been to Lima. It is extremely hot. Just got to meet up with a client who retired down here and is thinking about coming out of retirement. Man, Reggie's like, yeah, I'm ready to get active again. All right, so let's jump in. We're going to be talking about the five accounts you need as a business owner, and why each are important. What is happening? What is oh my, sorry about that. Let's turn this off. All right, let's jump in. Um, what's going on? All right, let's say hello to some folks before we jump in. Jonte, what's up, man? Says, what's up, big homie? It is good to have you here. Thank you for saying hello. Got Chap also popped in. No relation, but I love the name. Stop what you're doing when the Ace goes live. Thank you, thank you. So let's talk about these five accounts. This video, as most of the videos, is mostly like something is happening and or comes up and it's like it sparks like, man, people really need this lesson. This one is a result of the deal, a source of deals that we get a lot, and it's a little bit unfortunate. But every year, probably I get two or three deals that come in. Not that we buy each of them, but we usually get two or three deals that come as a result of somebody not paying their taxes. And sometimes it's there's just a lot of taxes that you're paying as a business owner. For some people, they have sales taxes. For other people, they have income taxes at the state level. Everybody has to pay federal taxes. So you have all of these different taxes to keep up with as a business owner. And number one, being a business owner and just being successful is very difficult, especially if you're doing what I beg each of you never to do. This is another great one from John. Yep, you've got payroll, and that's at the state level. It's just like all of these different things, and it can get very easy, especially on the payroll. They are very, very vicious. We had a thing where we were miscalculating it back when I had the Plato's businesses, and just the amount that they charged as the fees. I mean, it's like you really start to realize the business owners understand that, oh, for business owners, the government is like gangsters. For small business owners, for the big business owners, they're the best people in the world. But for small business owners, you're dealing with these folks that are like gangsters. And payroll tax is one of the reasons that I am that just kind of an additional layer to all of the reasons that it's great to kind of be a solopreneur in today's day and time. I think just managing people is becoming more difficult. I was watching this thing the other day that was talking about hiring somebody from a new generation, and it was like, oh well, Mondays are mental health Mondays, and so it's supposed to be half a day, and Tuesdays are self-care Tuesdays. So I'm gonna take a 3-hour lunch today. Like every day was just this other thing. So it is, but at the same time, we got that's pushing people away from doing any deals where they got to deal with a bunch of employees. Then on the other end, that is very exciting. And this is going to be bad for employees. This is one of the reasons that, like, even if you're not into business, you want to be thinking about how am I going to be a business owner, entrepreneur, because we have AI, we have all these other tools that are making it easier and easier to do business without having to have employees. So you've got all of those things that are in place. But I got this call today from a friend who has somebody, they're ready to sell their business. They're really trying to sell it anyways. And they were back on state taxes. They were kind of behind and they're trying to figure out a solution. The other thing is like they can shut you down at any point. It's not like any other bill where maybe they turn off a service or whatever. When you don't do the tax, it's like, hey, nah, you just are completely out of business. We're about to sell all this stuff and get our money. So we're looking at this deal, and it's a very, very unfortunate situation. We'll talk about the details of the deal here, but I wanted to at least come to each of you and talk about the different accounts that you need to have and how you should be managing your money. Now, I do have a bookkeeping firm. If anybody needs bookkeeping, global bookkeeping, and you can reach out and we can help. But that kind of just assumes we assume that you've got bookkeeping in place. Here are the 5 accounts, and this is just every business should have. So everybody should have a operating business account, and this is where everything is just going in and out. And within this account, I would recommend that you've got about really no more than 2 months, but you can have a minimum of a month. So you've always got a monthly expenses in this account, and you really should never have more than 2 months. And I'll explain why here in a second, especially with the times we're going into. Second is the account that you pay yourself into. So for me, and this is not tax advice, but what I would do is like there's a separate account that is really owned completely by the business, but my money will go into that account just to separate it, just so I know. So if I'm taking out a salary of $100,000, and that's going to go into that account for that, out of that specific business, going to go into that account. And I'm not taking it out of the business. It's just separated. Now, I don't need money from most of the businesses, and so if you've got to pay expenses, then you've got to manage that a different way. But I would never take more out of the business accounts, and so those are just accounts that are owned by the business. And the other thing here, again, this is not tax advice, but the other thing here is even when you're selling the business, it's really great to separate out those things that are kind of not necessary business expenses for when you get ready to sell. So in this account, everything is true business expenses. So even if you've got those other things that could be, hey, we're going to make a donation to my son's baseball team, or we're going to do, we've got this expense for my car, just all those other things that really are your things, that should be out of a separate account. And people do not do this, and it becomes a nightmare when they're ready to sell. The next thing is the tax account. So this gets into that earlier conversation where, obviously, they didn't have this separate tax account, and that's what got them into trouble. Was they kind of were thinking, okay, I'm going to keep this up. I'm going to keep, I'm going to be able to grow at this level. I need to reinvest this. I'm not going to take this tax out later. I'll pay it, once I make money in the future, and then the future income. And so you end up in trouble. And so a good way to manage that tax account is taking out, for every dollar that you put into the personal account, just putting another dollar into that tax account. With the tax account, you're not touching that. There are some things that you could do that tie into the number 4 account. And so let's talk about that. The 4th account is the business profits. In this account, I will usually have about 6 months of overhead. So, some people are thinking like, oh, well, in the operating account, like, why would you just have 1 month? Well, it's because I have the 4th account, which is the 6 months of overhead. So how does money get into that account? You're taking out the money that's your salary. You're matching that with the tax account. If you've got a bunch of employees, you've got to increase that. So you want to take a percentage out of the operating income. Then, like I mentioned in account 1, you've got a max of 2 months. And really, you might even make it like a month and a half that's going into that shouldn't be in the operating account. So basically, every time your account 1 gets over 2 months of operating income, or it's basically at the amount you need for operating expenses more so, you're going to take that money and put it over into your account for, because those are your true business profits. And notice that I don't count the money that you're putting into your personal account necessarily the business profits. Like if you're working in that business, that's just an expense. You're just like anybody else. Like you should be getting money. So that doesn't count as, we're not considering that profits. And it's important for you to understand the difference between profits and just compensation. So the true profits are going to go into the business profits account. So you've got hopefully the goal is to get to 6 months. So every time you get over 2 months in account one, you're putting that into account four with the goal of getting to 6 months. Now, this is where you start to get rich. This is where wealth is built. This is what separates wealthy business owners. When you see these folks, like, man, you may have two people in the same business, and this guy who's got like true wealth and lives on the golf course and lives a life of freedom and all that, and you've got this other guy that is hustling every day and may have the Porsche and some of these things, but they're working a ton, is they haven't done a good job of managing account 4 and account 5. So in account 4, you should be investing that money in low risk things. So now you pretty much have to. You've got to get money into things like treasury bonds, into things like CDs. So you're not risking, you're not taking huge risks, but if you've got 100,000 in there and you can get 5% or 4%, that account year one becomes a $5,000 account. Now you've got this additional money that's going to come in there. Now, 5 is where you build true wealth, and this is your investment holdings account. So, and as it's really cool once you get into having multiple businesses, i.e. the conglomerate examples that I've talked about before with the solo conglomerate business model. It's also the same thing when we get into solo funds, but you've got these different businesses, and each one of them, it has its accounts, and each one of them is earning interest in account 4. And then you really get into the investments in the investment holding account in 5. And so when you get into the investment holding account, what are you doing here? This is where you start to build wealth. And essentially it can be, if it's managed correctly, pre-tax. So you're getting the growth of this money in a tax advantage environment. Where do you want to invest it? So this can be strategies like I've talked about before with the options income strategies that we use in some of our businesses, where we're selling puts, we're selling calls, and each month we get income from those strategies. So you wouldn't want to do this in account 4 because there is a much higher risk profile than that of treasury bonds or CDs and that kind of thing. You might even in 4 do something like corporate bonds to get a little bit higher. But in 5 is where you can just go all out because this is the money that's your opportunity to grow big. Because here is the thing. You might as well go as big as possible because you're guaranteed if you take it out, you're basically going to get taxed 50%. Half of it's going to be gone anyway, right? So here's here's one of the things that people miss that, if you want to know what the rich white guy that's on the golf course is doing, one of the things that people miss is they don't take enough risks with those funds before they're very quick to just pay a ton of taxes with it and guarantee. So basically it's like, okay, I would rather guarantee myself a 50% loss than really go balls to the wall trying to grow this thing and triple and double and quadruple multiple times over this money. And then, if it does go away and I lose it, great, that sucks. But I knew I was going to lose 50% of it anyway. So it's my time to get really aggressive. And so this is where I get to play these other games. And, when I lose it, if I do lose it, then it's like, okay, I only lost 50% because 50% was gone. And when you flip this switch as an investor it changes everything because you can take a lot of reps. You can do a ton of reps. You're getting better and better. You can take those losses, and all you need is some of those to win. And it's like, the government, the way I look at it is the government is 50-50 partners on my lottery ticket plays. So I'm not actually playing the lottery, but I'm doing the things that are a bit more aggressive in that investment holding company. And then I have the other things that are less risky. When we're doing, like in the Patreon, we talk about I basically talk about all my plays. I share each of the trades that we do in the different companies. And, as those folks know, by the way, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/Ace Chapman. Those folks know these aren't high risk plays. This is income that's coming in each month. But I will do some more risky things. This is where I'll do my convertible notes into businesses. This is where I'll just do straight equity into other small businesses. This may be some of the real estate plays, which is a little less risky, or investing in other funds. I've had a fund, shout out to my man Erwin, where he's starting a fund. He's upfront. Hey, this is kind of a risky fund. It is a cool concept where they're building out these web properties and using some strategies and growing them, that kind of thing. It turns out we just got a report that's we're making some money there, which is good. But that was like, hey, we'll throw that. Hopefully, it turns into a home run. If not, my 50-50 partner, the government, help me out with that one. So in this one as well, you can decide, okay, I'm gonna put some stuff into the treasury bond and CD stuff as well, where you're building up this foundation of more. So, within this investment holdings, you've got, 20 to 30% that's just like, just the very, very aggressive plays. You've got 20 to 30% that is kind of the middle, the things that I'm talking about with the stock market income strategies. And even within that, I do a focus on dividend stocks. So I'm getting income from the options, and then, I'm doing it on, the smaller amount, which is the dividends. And then you've got the very conservative, like this is just long-term and it's going to grow and that kind of thing. And this is all just me. This is not what you should be doing. This is how I think about it in each of those businesses. So this is what I'm talking about. Just this concept is what I'm talking about. When I'm looking at a business, that's the end goal. That's the purpose, right? The end goal is, how can I do this deal in structure so that it builds well for me? That's the point. And you want to have multiple of these businesses that are building wealth for you. We're doing a deal right now in PEPI where we're trying to figure out, and one of the PEPIs, PEPI 5, we're trying to figure out, we have this one resource and we want to put it into another business. And this is what you get into when you get into the kind of solo holding company or conglomerate. And you can start to move things around. And unfortunately, we just didn't have enough deals to move the thing that we wanted to move around. And the main reason in that one is that they've got one deal that is essentially an infinite return. It's like, if I wanted to put a number on it, it'd be like 1,000% return on what we actually higher than that. But yeah, 1,000% return on what we had to put into it. So that becomes this really neat thing that you can do when you start to invest, with that investment account number 5, you can start to make investments in other deals, and then those become entities that build out your conglomerate. So within a fund, it is essentially that model within a fund. And so, we had that deal that is 1,000%. So we just didn't have to do a bunch of, when you get one that's 1,000% return, you don't need to do, you don't even want to take a lot of risk, because then it's like, we don't want to mess up what's going to be a really great ROI for the ladies in PEPI 5, which I will say, I do need to do another all-female Peffy. I'm not doing any Peffys right now, but if I were, I think the next one would definitely be all female. When I compare the females to the males, there's just no comparison. They just get stuff done. And people are like, oh, like women are emotions. Like, no, women get stuff done, man. Dudes, I think, especially when it comes to business, dudes just have ego and it keeps them from just listening and executing. The dude is like, well, no, like, what if we did this? Like, no, dude, just do. Like, I've been doing this for 20 years. Like, well, but I read this book 3 years ago that said, like, it's like, dude, just get the work done. Dudes are the worst. Dudes are the worst to work with. Just because our egos, man, we're trying to come up with other stuff instead of just getting out there and freaking executing. So shout out to the ladies of Peffy 5. I think, I think theirs will likely be our highest ROI fund ever, just because they listen and they execute. Guys want to come up with our own crap. It's just dudes. We got to get it together, fellas. We got to get it together. Let go of the ego and get work done. All right, let's do some comments and let's get out of here. Joshua popped in and said, let's go, Ace. Thanks for sharing your wealth of wisdom. I appreciate the comment. Appreciate you popping in. I have an opportunity to return to school in a master's program to land a job in IB. I could lateral over to PE and build up pedigree. Thoughts on doing this or investing in PE mentorship? I think IB is the best foundation you can have before PE. The most successful people in PE were previously in investment banking. So Henry Kravitz, Kohlberg, Steve Schwarzman, just everybody comes from the IB world. So I think you're in a win-win situation there, homie. And my sister popped in and said, the ladies be winning. The ladies be winning. Dudes get caught up in ego and trying to show out. It's like, dude, you're doing all this. Just go get the work done. All right. If you haven't already, check out the Patreon/Ace Chapman. Talk to y'all soon. Thank y'all so much for popping in. Thank you.